Today's movie kicks off in 1872. We see a guy running through the brush, bleeding out and looking like a total wreck. Right then, Captain Miller's gang shows up, chasing him on horseback with zero mercy. Even though the guy tries to ditch them every way he can, they manage to snag his leg with a rope and drag him back. The men jump down and start beating him senseless with absolute brutality, while Captain Miller keeps chanting these weird words about retribution and how humans judge one another. Finally, after his crew has basically ground the guy into dust, Miller fires a shot into the air and tells them that's enough. He walks over to the guy himself, whose face is totally unrecognizable at this point from the beating, and offers him a little water to quench his thirst. The guy is sobbing and completely falling apart because he's positive they're going to kill him. But honestly, what happens next is worse than death. Miller decides to scalp the guy alive and keep the scalp as a trophy. On the flip side of the story, specifically in a simple house out on the border plains, we see the family of Jeff, a former war hero. He's there with his wife Haley and their baby girl, plus they have a young son named Pace. Haley goes out to fetch water from the well in front of the house, while Jeff takes his son over to their barn. Later, Jeff and Pace sit down to eat, and we notice Haley is holding the baby and serving them. It's clearly that era where women don't eat until the men are done, because she doesn't actually get to sit and rest until they finish and head out of the house. Once they're gone, Haley puts the baby down for a nap and starts washing the dishes. She looks exhausted, but she keeps up with the housework and starts hanging the laundry until she suddenly spots a snake sliding toward her crying baby. She scoops the kid up instantly and grabs a rifle. But before she can pull the trigger, Jeff walks in, takes the gun from her, and goes after the snake with total savagery until he finishes it off. When night falls, Jeff tells her to keep an eye out for the wolf that's been snatching their chickens lately. Pace asks if he's finally going to take him hunting, but Jeff notices Haley is staring off into space, so he tells him to ask his mom and see what she thinks. She tells him he can go, but only if he finishes all his chores. We find out that Jeff used to be a pro sniper in the army and took out a ton of rebel Indians with crazy precision. Anyway, the next day, Haley wakes up to feed the horses and take care of the barn. Afterwards, she goes out to see Jeff, who took his son hunting for a bit. But as soon as he leaves, a group of Native Americans shows up with an injured girl. They demand Haley stitch up her wound right now. Even though it's a super intense situation, she does what they say while being totally stressed out, to the point where her clothes get covered in blood. In the end, when she succeeds, their leader thanks her and gives her a dagger as a gift to show his appreciation. When Jeff and his son get back, they find her sitting on a chair, soaked in blood. As soon as Jeff asks what happened, she breaks down crying. That night, Jeff apologizes to her and explains that the Indians might have just wandered out of their territory looking for something. But that's when Haley gets real with him and says she wants to go back to her hometown instead of living in this isolated spot. She tells him he could ask her dad for a job and he'd definitely help out. But Jeff tells her they can make it on their own without anyone's help. She's completely lost hope though, and tells him she personally doesn't think she'll make it. So the next day, Jeff decides to head into town to buy some supplies. He tells his son Pace to look after his mom because he's the man of the house while he's gone. He takes the horse and carriage and heads out immediately. Haley and Pace stay behind to mind the barn, and she gives Pace a piece of candy to get him to work hard today. She tells him stories about the big, busy city she used to live in before they moved to this barren wasteland. Pace asks her if it's true that her parents didn't want her to marry Jeff, and she explains they just had their own ideas about things. Pace is confused and says, "But my dad's a hero and a fighter against the rebels." When she clarifies that his dad was actually a rebel himself, he gets upset, saying he only joined them to save the Union forces. He leaves her and goes inside the house all angry. Suddenly, Haley is surprised by 4 men coming from a distance on horseback. When they get close, we find out it's Captain Miller and his gang. But the weird thing is that Miller speaks to her real polite and asks if they can water their horses at her well. Haley welcomes them and tells him to take what he needs. When the men start acting rowdy as usual, Miller apologizes to Haley for the scene, telling her they've been riding for 3 months and are in bad shape. He asks to buy some eggs, and she agrees to that too. But when he asks if her husband is home, Pace chimes in and says he went to town for supplies and is on his way back. When Haley sees Miller being nice to the kid, she offers to make them breakfast before they move on. Miller thanks her a lot and accepts the invite. He and his men head into the house and sit at the dining table. When Miller sees the baby, he gets happy, picks her up to play with her, and sings to her a bit. Haley serves the food and treats them well. But when she leaves them to go refill the water, she notices a scalp hanging on Miller's horse. As soon as she gets close, she realizes it's a human scalp they stripped off someone. She goes back inside, her face completely changed. She grabs the baby so they don't hurt her. Pace grabs his dad's rifle to show it off, telling them he can shoot it because his dad taught him. But Haley pushes him away, takes the rifle, and points it right at them out of nowhere. Miller and his gang are shocked by this sudden flip. When he asks what exactly they did, she tells him, "I don't host killers in my house." She orders them to leave right now or she'll fire, and she doesn't care about the consequences. When Miller agrees, she shocks him again by demanding they leave their weapons behind too. When he refuses, she tells him he can trade the scalp for guns later. He realizes why she's doing all this and actually leaves his weapons with the men's guns. She follows them out of the house until they reach their horses, and they ride off quietly. Haley goes back inside and keeps watching them from a distance. Because she feels they'll come back, she has Pace help her push a wardrobe behind the door so no one can get in. Then she breaks the window glass and keeps watch with the rifle. Sure enough, the men grab spare weapons from their horses and get ready to storm the house. Haley sees them and starts firing with total ferocity. Both sides start trading shots in a heavy firefight. Haley's shots are dead accurate, and every time she fires 2 rounds, she reloads the rifle lightning fast. The men start getting pissed and move closer to the house, firing without stopping. Even so, Haley isn't scared and keeps trading fire with them. Miller screams at them, telling them he wants the mother and her kids alive. Haley gives the rifle to Pace and tells him to be brave and watch his sister. She grabs a pistol, stands by the door, and fires off several shots, almost killing one of Miller's guys, who runs to the barn immediately. Haley gets her weapons ready to fight them until the very last breath. Pace stands at the window with the rifle too, and as soon as he spots one of the gang, he fires without hesitating, but the recoil knocks him to the floor. Haley rushes over to him and starts worrying about her family, so she calls out to the gang, telling them to take what they want and just leave in peace. Miller appears on his horse and tells her they only want her. Meanwhile, Jeff is in town trying to find any job to bring home some cash, but unfortunately he finds nothing and feels frustrated. Back with Haley, she goes to change her daughter's diaper and tries to calm her down because she's screaming. When she hears the gang calling her, she reloads the rifle instantly. She tells Pace to hide his sister and stands at the window, fully ready. Miller approaches her, showing he's unarmed, and asks to just talk. She refuses and tells him to take his men and get lost. But we notice he's just distracting her while his men maneuver around the house. Miller tells her he's been in a lot of wars and would never hurt a woman or a child. He tells her he had a daughter once who was his whole life, but she's dead now, and it left a huge hole in his heart. He swears by his daughter's grave that he won't hurt her or her kids no matter what. But Haley spots the men at the other window and starts firing at them immediately. Miller gets furious because he was almost about to convince her, but Haley is wide awake. She grabs the pistol and fires at them fast until they back off. Then she sits on the chair, waiting for the next attack. At that point, the men have opened the barn and brought out their only cow. Haley looks out the window and sees them shooting the cow with total violence and brutality. She watches them slaughter it in cold blood and gets incredibly angry. We notice one of the men got hit by a bullet, so they start a fire and cauterize his wound while he screams in agony. Inside, Haley reassures her son that everything will be okay. When she sees he's still upset, she tells him his dad wasn't a rebel. She explains that while he started the war for the South, he ended it as a national hero, and that good and evil aren't always clear-cut. Meanwhile, Miller and his gang are cooking part of the slaughtered cow. One of the guys asks him what's up with the not hurting women and kids thing. Miller shocks him by saying, "You think we actually have to stick to that?" He tells him about the horrors of the war he fought in and how nobility and morals have no place there. Because in war, there's only room for greed and killing. It turns out Miller's daughter died in that war in a horrific way, and since that day, he's been bitter at everyone. He tells the men that no law on earth will stop a father from getting revenge for his daughter. He thinks Haley is just a poor, sensible woman, and if they give her enough time, she'll come out quietly. But they're shocked when she starts a huge fire in the house's fireplace, so the smoke spreads everywhere. She wants anyone who sees it to come save her from this gang. She stands at the window, firing at the gang in the barn as much as she can, while her son keeps adding wood to the fire to make more smoke for a rescue. But two of the gang members approach the house quickly, and by then, the fire has started catching the ceiling, and it's a mess. Haley has to cut an extra hole in the roof to let the smoke out, so she and her kids don't suffocate. The men surround the house and wait for the right moment to attack. But instead, they see Haley's neighbor, Sam, who saw the fire from a distance and came to help. Unfortunately, he doesn't know the people in front of him are a heartless gang. Haley calls out to him from the window, telling him to run fast and bring help because they're a gang. But one of the men chases him down with total speed and ferocity before he can tell anyone. Another guy fills a bucket of water and wants to put out the fire before Haley and her kids die inside. He drops his gun in front of Haley, actually puts out the fire, and runs off. As for the guy who went after Sam, he manages to snag him with a rope, pulls him off his horse, ties him up tight, and brings him back immediately. Of course, they use him to threaten Haley. She tells them to let him go because he didn't do anything to them, but Miller refuses and demands she come out now, or he'll kill him without hesitation. Sam tells her not to come out, or they'll all die. Miller sits Sam down and gets his knife ready. Haley tells him Sam has 5 kids and what he's doing is a sin, but Miller doesn't care and slits his throat in front of her in cold blood. Haley is devastated. She gets a piece of wood and turns it into a torch. When night falls, she throws it out the window so she can see clearly if anyone approaches. She does the same for all 4 sides of the house. During this time, Jeff is sitting around gambling, hoping to win some money for his family. He actually wins a bit and leaves the bar happy, ready to head home. But unfortunately, a lady of the night comes up and tries to convince him to spend the night with her and have a drink. Thankfully, Jeff pushes her away, but then he sees a poster on the wall for Miller's arrest. As soon as he sees it, he's shocked, grabs his horse, and rides off immediately. Back at the house, Haley is teaching her son how to make coffee because she's busy with the baby. She feels a bit safe because her kids are around her and okay. She tells Pace a story about how one time she was coming home from school and a group of guys attacked her and knocked her books on the ground. She was crying and screaming for help, and that's when she saw Jeff for the first time. Even though there were 6 of them, Jeff took them all on one by one, gave her back her books, apologized for their rude behavior, and walked her home. Ever since then, they fell in love and got married. Because of that, she's confident he'll be back soon to protect her like he did back then. But right then, she hears a noise outside. She rushes to the window with the pistol and finds one of Miller's followers coming to talk to her. He shows her he has no weapon at all and assures her Miller and the others don't know he's there. He tells her he joined Miller to rob banks and trains, but he can't stand what's happening now, and it doesn't suit him anymore. He tells her he couldn't save her neighbor because they would have killed him too. He says he decided to help her because everyone is asleep and it's his turn on guard duty. He tells her he'll bring the horses for her and the kids to ride and leave right now. Haley agrees and says she'll get the kids ready in 10 minutes. The guy tells her not to worry about anything, saying they can get on the horses and leave before anyone sees them to go find Jeff. But right then, Haley shoots him and finishes him off on the spot. When Pace asks why she did that, she explains she never mentioned Jeff's name to them at all. This means they came specifically looking for Jeff, and they want him, especially since they're sitting outside waiting, using them like bait until Jeff arrives so they can ambush him. She tells Pace to take the pony and escape fast to find his dad and warn him about the trap. She opens the back door very quietly and lets her son out. The boy approaches the barn feeling anxious, especially since one of Miller's men is inside. Pace moves the wood quietly and lets all the horses out silently, but Miller and the rest see the horses running and move after them immediately. Haley gets worried and goes out to make sure her son got away, but one of the men catches her and he's totally fuming. The horse knocks him down and Haley points the rifle at him, but her luck is bad and it's empty. He attacks her fiercely, but she pulls out her dagger and stabs him in the eye without warning. She runs with her son a long distance until they reach the river with the baby, but suddenly she's surprised to see Miller and his men coming after her. She gives the baby to her son and tells him to run as fast as he can, while she stands her ground to stall the men as long as possible until he disappears. One of the men knocks her into the water and gets into a fight with her, while the other man looks for Pace everywhere. Thankfully, he's hiding in the brush with his baby sister, but the problem is that Haley gets captured. Miller is beyond pissed. His man returns without Pace and the baby and wants to keep following them until he finds and kills them, but Miller curses him out to make him listen. The guy with the eye injury tries to tie Haley up, but she bites him. Suddenly, Jeff arrives and sees them. He jumps one of the men and pulls his weapon, but the problem is they're 3 against 1 and there's a knife at his wife's throat. Miller tells him to drop the gun or his wife dies. It turns out they knew each other before. When he asks about his kids, Haley assures him they're safe. Miller tells him to drop the weapon or his wife dies in front of his eyes. We find out that Jeff is the one who killed Miller's daughter 12 years ago during the war. Even though Jeff explains it was an accident, Miller is full of revenge and rejects that completely. He threatens Jeff with his wife's life to make him drop the gun. Under the pressure, Jeff fears for Haley and actually drops the pistol. Miller punches him in the face, and he and the men start beating him. They tie them both up and take them back to the house. They decide to tie Jeff's hands tightly to torture him a bit before killing him in front of his wife. Jeff doesn't care and tells Miller to just do what he came for and get it over with. But before he can scalp him, Haley speaks up and says she'll do anything for them if they just let her husband live. Miller decides he and his men will assault her in front of Jeff to break him before he dies. The guy who lost his eye goes in first to be the one, but Haley catches him off guard and stabs him in the head with a knife, ending his life instantly. Even so, she keeps stabbing him hysterically because she's just done. She then goes out and fires at the other man with Miller and frees her husband immediately. He takes a pistol from her and keeps firing at the gang until they both get into the barn. But the problem is Haley got hit by a bullet in her stomach and is bleeding out. When Miller enters the house and sees his follower dead in such a brutal way, he's deeply saddened, especially since they've been together since the war and had a close bond. He decides to burn the body and the whole house with it. He stands in front of the barn, screaming and calling out for Jeff. The two of them trade shots with total ferocity until Miller surprises him and comes at him from another spot. Just as he's about to kill him, Haley comes from behind and shoots him, ending his life forever. When the last man sees Miller is dead and no one else is left, he grabs his horse and bolts. But Jeff, being the pro sniper, manages to pick him off at the last second and kills him too. After a while, we see Jeff and Haley have started building a new house to replace the one that burned down. And their relationship has improved a lot after the fierce battle they fought together. And that's where the movie ends. I hope you enjoyed the summary. If you made it to the end, don't forget to like the video and leave us a nice comment like you always do. And for those seeing us for the first time, subscribe to the channel to see all the upcoming summaries. See you next movie. Peace.